Hello again, everyone. This is Joe Henches with Beyond the Chart, and this is technical analysis of the stock market today. Today is Wednesday, September 3rd, 2014. And this is Wednesday night, so we're doing the BRIC countries. We're going to look at Brazil, Russia, India, China, South Africa. Spend a little, just quickly see how their averages, the indices are doing there, how the markets are doing. We'll take a look at our markets very quickly, and then we'll focus in on silver via SLV, the silver ETF, and take a look at a trade idea on Melco Crown Entertainment. Okay, the Dow Industrials was up 10.7 points today. We seem to be running into a little bit of resistance up here at the 17,151, 17,153.80, 17,151.90, very high right in here, and it sells off. So not quite sure what to make of that. The S&P 500 has pushed through those previous highs and is up in here. A little bit of a reversal bar here today. We've closed below the closes of the last 2 days, and we went up and closed low. Although it's not a dramatic reversal bar, and it's not one I'd want to necessarily bet on, because I'd like to see more of a bearish engulfing bar, honestly, an outside down bar, which I think you'll see when you look at the NASDAQ. So if we go over here to the NASDAQ, that's the kind of bar we got today, and we did close below the close of the last 2 days on this engulfing down bar. So I'm kind of wondering where this goes. The momentum and the strength is higher and moving this direction, but that doesn't mean that we can't come on down. We're getting a little bit of divergence in here on the RSI, and we're not getting it on the DI plus though. Okay, and the demand index on NASDAQ is not really showing it either. So 1 out of 3 doesn't quite get it for me. It'll be interesting to see if we just continue to ignore this. The New York Composite, no big reversal bar here either. It was, it closed below the opening today. That's why you have a dark bar on a candlestick. And whenever it's dark, that means that the close was below the opening for the day. When it's white, the close is above the opening for the day. And we're still trending higher in here on the New York Composite. Let's take a look at the little bit of divergence showing up, not dramatic. And if we go to the Russell 2000, a little bit clearer divergence in here with the close yesterday, and then we got a same type of bar that we got on the NASDAQ in here. This outside down, and outside I mean higher high and lower low, and it closed down, engulfing this entire bar and closing below the close of this day and this day, last 2 days. So it does look negative with the divergence. I wouldn't be surprised to see this break down and start maybe resuming a downward trend. That will be interesting to see. Okay, so that's the key indices, our key indices. Take a look, short-term trading index. It's not doing a whole heck of a lot. Look at the blue line, okay? And it is 0.979 is where the 10-day, is that, I'm trying to figure out if I'm using exponential. I am, of the 10-day exponential of the short-term trading index. So an extreme is down below 0.9. We haven't been there in quite a while. And the next one is the VIX. The VIX index, we are kind of going sideways in here, although the indicators looks like we're trying to turn. And it does make me wonder if we have a little something going on, but it's really hard to tell. I'm not seeing, I like to, whenever the blue line gets above the 21, the 10 gets above the 21, then I feel like something might be happening, and we're not even close to that here. So I'm not going to read anything into that one. The high-low index, we had 174 more new highs than new lows for the day. We're still got this short-term trend to the upside going on, so we're not getting any sign of strong weakness there that I can see. And now that I'm here, I'm just going to mention it. The equity put to call ratio, 10-day equity put to call ratio is 0.59, so we're not in an extreme. I look at it when the 10-day, as I've showed you before, when it gets down below 0.55, when it gets to 0.54 and starting getting lower, and I get one-day readings in the 0.4, and we have seen it in the 0.3, then you're getting at extreme bullishness, which is sentiment, which is bearish. So we're not there. And we had that back in June, in mid-June, but we're not there. So right now, that's not telling us anything, except for the fact that we're not getting extreme bullishness. All right, let's take a look at the BRIC countries. Brazil continues its upward trend, moving nicely. So, you know, the trend is there on Brazil, and really nice little move here from March. Let's see, in the MICEX, Russia. Russia started to do this sell-off as we started to get the inflammatory stuff over last weekend and towards the end of the last week, and then we get this big rally today as all the markets were like, "Oh, wow, you know, Ukraine and Russia, you know, ceasefire, truce, everybody's going to work it out." We'll see. That's a spiky, very spiky type of rally, but you never know. It's hard to tell from one-day move like that on Russia. But let's see, India continues to push higher, and I've adjusted these wave counts in here, 3 and 4. I've moved them over. I think this is a little more accurate, and because I'm not getting the divergence that I like to see in here. Let me make that a little clearer. We were getting a little bit here, but that's a part of a sideways correction that we got, and then we're getting this push out. And on a fifth wave, I'm normally liking to see some kind of divergence. So this thing isn't ending yet, and it's just continuing to thrust to the high side. I need to relook the wave count in here, but I mean it's a pretty picture right now. I mean, you know, if you're in it, you just stay with the trend. Let's see, and China. This one shocked me. I hadn't looked at this in a couple of days. Of course, they're trading when you know, we're off. Here we go, 4 days in a row, rocket launch for the last wave up in here. And I started to put a wave count in here, and we'll see. I need to spend a little more time on China. I'm thinking this may have been a pretty significant bottom in here. And therefore, I'm thinking this might have been wave 1 with this pullback wave 2. And I can count 5 waves up here, getting a zigzag wave 2 back down. And then this type of move is strong. We'll see. And it's interesting. You know, we talk about technical analysis, we talk about chart patterns, and I talked about this symmetrical triangle. Okay, let me use this. Okay, you know, I talked about this in the green, okay? And I talked about this formation, and that's why I had this dotted line up here, because it's parallel to this line. And when it breaks out, you project from the beginning of the triangle, and you project it out parallel to this, and sure enough, look at the move today, right to the dotted line. Now, it may not be done. I don't know yet, but I love when you see a picture like this and it turns out like that, because many times that's exactly what's going to happen. Now, a lot of times it doesn't do it on the time frame that you expect it to. And I need to get rid of this in order to get my mouse back. There we go. So, you know, very interesting, and this could be a sign that, you know, that China is really turning here. I mean, you look at it's above these points here, it's going to this resistance point, high 2334. So I expect to see, you know, does it run into some resistance right in here as it's trying to push higher? But man, that is strong. Let's take a look at the volume, and you could make the case that we're getting some divergence in here because of this higher move, but it's hard to say until you start to see maybe a little sideways or a slight pullback to know that we do have a turn. Right now, this is a part of a launch. Volume, look at the volume on that. Okay, let me blow that up. These last 2 days, very strong up in here. And of course, the volume on this entire breakout move was extremely strong, way above the 50-day moving average of volume. So, you know, pretty nice looking move coming out of China. And then the last one is South Africa. You know, where is it? Oh, it always knows where I want to go. I'm not sure how it does that, but anyway, all right. South Africa has moved sideways, not getting any dramatic moves on this. It still looks like it's a correction mode, although this move in here might be the start of something here for South Africa. You could draw some trend lines in here and get a break, but I'm not going to spend any more time on that. All right, let's take a look at silver, wheat, and weekly. Okay, so here's a weekly chart of SLV. I have this on my post on the homepage, or on my post tonight, which, you know, again, you can access it via the post or on the homepage. And so this is my first point of reference we're talking about. And you know, the support that was coming in, this is the low here, 1775. I think there's a good chance that we've gotten this is a complex correction. And I think we may have gotten a WXY corrective bottom in here. The risk that we're at, let me blow this up, and here's, look at these previous highs that it blasted through back here in 2010, has now become a point that it seems to be getting support at. It comes back down in there, gets support, moves up, comes back down, gets some support, tries to move. Now it's broken this trend line. So we blow this up a little bit. 1871, the low here is 1775. So that's your risk in terms of, if it breaks this point, then all bets are off in terms of a turn. You know, I think this may be a first wave up, and we may be having a dragged out correction that may have ended right here. So let me see so I'm thinking that this might be one, and then we got some kind of zigzag, although, you know, I had a little one in here, but, and that this may be, you know, two, and because we broke this trend line in here, this may be the start of a new wave doing something like this. And of course, the target would be, you know, closing this this gap in here. So this low would be my first target, and it kind of coincides with lows back in here, like this low. So that's kind of interesting. All right, well, let me take that and get my mouse back. So that's what I'm thinking about in here. So let's take a look at the daily chart real quick and see if that shows us a whole lot more. We're getting bullish divergence on this last down move here on the RSI. Looks a little bit like it on the, let me blow that up. You can see it better here, okay? And on the DI minus did not go to a higher point. And the demand index is also showing divergence in here. So this move down here is not being confirmed by the indicators. So that makes me also start to think that, okay, this may be one, and we may have, let me put in a 2. And we'll see if that holds, see if this point, I mean, number one, this point needs to hold. And then, of course, the 1775 needs to hold. This low is 1791, not far above 1775. So that's my perspective on silver right now, on SLV. I'm thinking it's trying to turn, and it looks like it may be getting ready to make a move to the upside. Your risk is limited as to where you would put your stop. Okay. And then the last thing I want to mention tonight is Melco Crown Entertainment. This is a counter trend move, and I'm going to put the details out. I saw this kind of late this morning, or first thing this morning, but right when the market was about to open the action, and so I didn't say anything because I wanted to kind of put this out for you know, folks on the Trade Ideas page. And if this would, and you know, it hit the threshold for entering back in. This is very similar to RAX. The RAX play, okay? I think we may have A, B, C down on this, and that we may, the correction may be over. There's no guarantees, but it's doing this turtle soup +1 again, okay, like RACS did. And there's no guarantees it's going to play out like RACS, but I think it's worth a shot. So what happened is we had a 20-day low here, and it was beyond 4 days from this point, where we then broke below that 20-day low, and we closed below the 20-day low yesterday. Now we traded back above it, and I like to think of like 10 cents above the low. So around 27.54.56 is where I was thinking about the entry, and now it's sold back down a little bit and closed almost unchanged. I think it was down 3 cents for the day. Yes, down 3 cents for the day. So it's worth a shot. You put your stop down below here, and this low is 26.28. So you put a stop down below that. So we'll see. I think there's a shot that this thing wants to turn. I'm seeing divergences on the RSI, and it'll be interesting to see if this divergence holds and it breaks this trend line. Then that's going to be an indication that it's going to want to break this trend line that I haven't drawn yet. But that's the trend line on the RSI. I'm getting bullish divergence here on the DI minus and on the demand index. So I've got all three indicators saying it looks like there's divergence in here. Again, no guarantees, but it looks like the risk reward could be kind of interesting on this play. So that's the Melco Crown, and I'll put the details on the Trade Ideas webpage. So, all right, that's it for tonight. This is Joe for Beyond the Chart. If you felt like the video was helpful, please share it on social media. And if you're not a subscriber, just subscribe. Click on the little red box, download the PDF I've got for you, free report. And first name and email is all you need. It gives you access to the Trade Ideas page that we've got. And you get email notifications of updates and all that good stuff. So, all right. Everyone have a great, what is it, Wednesday? Keep forgetting what the short week today. So tomorrow's Thursday, Friday. I know I have another update video out tomorrow on 4 Chinese stocks. I haven't looked at them. Just look for it. I'll tweet it. And same thing on Friday. I'm trying to put out these little updates on the off days. And then Saturday, I'll be back with another market update. So, all right, everyone have a great Thursday, Friday. Don't forget that Friday's the big jobs report economic indicator coming out, 7:30 Central Time. Talk to you soon.